I'm on my Rick Mercer stuff. If you don't know what I mean, that's okay. Rick Mercer is on This Hour is 22 Minutes, like kind of Canadian political, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm going to show you this while I'm thinking. The Skill, S-K-I-L. Parody. Political commentary, parody show. This Hour is 22 Minutes. And Rick Mercer was a part of that, and he'd have these segments where he would, like, be in back alleys in, like, Montreal and stuff. There's, like, just a, like, buttload of graffiti. And he would, like, have these rants. So, anyway, what I wanted to talk about was the huge spike in graffiti in Lethbridge the past couple months. And I'm downtown a lot because the studio's downtown, so I see stuff a lot. This is Atomic, which was one of my favorite, now we're going to get into the weeds here. It's one of my favorite cannabis stores. And they have been closed for quite some time now. So it's a much longer story, but I guess I will get into it. So the Lethbridge Hotel fire, that building was here. Sorry, there's like someone in a car right now, it's weird. So that building was here, and then it burned down. And then when the city was doing a bunch of stuff in the street, construction-wise, what do you know, some water mains broke on the block of the studio, and that's why Atomic Cannabis is still closed, because it completely flooded. And then the city didn't want to take any responsibility for that from one of the businesses that I was talking to, local independent businesses. And so I don't know if Atomic is going to recover, because they've been doing renos forever, and I just have no idea. So anyway, but shortly after the building burned down, we had another Skill over there, Hoser, who I'm aware of already, and I can't read the other two. So I was like, okay, well, like, Hoser, I'm aware of Hoser. Skill actually seems to actually have something going on. The other two, whatever. And yeah, I just started seeing more and more and more pop up. And it's an interesting thing for me specifically, because I talked about when I first moved here, like 7-ish years ago, how clean the city is, because there's like no graffiti. It's like really, really sparse. So now that there is, and it seems to be a consistent and not just a one-off thing, I feel like it's weird, and gives me a lot to think about. Yeah, it doesn't seem like just a flash in a pan or a flare up. It seems really consistent. There's been like some stuff that's been around forever that's never been cleaned up. That's like, I wouldn't even call it graffiti, because I don't think that's the purpose or intention of it. Stuff like this. Like, this stuff's been here forever. I don't think it's graffiti. It's just vandalism without any of the other merits that graffiti would have attached to it, like style, and again, purposeful and intended style, and trying to create something. So there's that creative element that's lacking there. Anyway, vlogging in public gets weird. For me, anyway. So it gets weird for me, and I start thinking about it a lot because, one, I'm like, oh, this is like happening. Like, something is happening here. That's gross. That's gnarly. Okay, interesting. Feeling like there's some momentum here. So Juice has been around here for a long time. It seemed like he was the only one doing anything for years. And it was really sparse. It was really rare. It was pretty hidden. It wasn't out in the open as much. And he's been emboldened as well. I don't know if he's going out with skill or if they know each other or whatever. Such a small city, such a small graffiti community. I imagine they would have to. It doesn't seem like there's people like really lining each other and stuff, which is good because that's just, I don't know. I never liked that part of the game anyway, or treating it like a game in that sense. So I was never a fan of that. But I think that, yeah, it's an odd place for me because I'm an old man, and then I get nostalgic for going out and writing, and I have a lot of opinions and views about it when I was doing it, and even now when I'm not doing it. And it makes me miss it, but it also, again, I've got a lot of opinions about it, so I feel like Skill, he's done some very visible stuff, but I feel like he's so indiscriminate that it irks me. So, like, the atomic cannabis thing irks me. There's like Sonder, like that is a major, that's like that's one of like the friggin' gnarliest pieces of graffiti I've seen in Lethbridge. Hold on. There's a lot of dead insects over here. That's fun. I wonder why. Gnarly. So I'm in the gallery now. What I was saying is that for me, that skill piece that is on, like, it's just like a throwy, but it's on the, what do you call that? Like a garage door, like the steel, like garage door, sliding, rolling door. I don't know what to call it. That's on Sonder. Is like a heaven spot. To me, it's like, it is incredibly visible. It'd be very hard to pull off no matter what time of day because you are so out in the open. And even though Lethbridge is pretty dead in comparison to like other cities at, you know, any given time of day, but especially if it's like 2 a.m. or whatever, like, yeah, not many people are going to be around. Like, it's still one of those things of like, it's well traveled. It's close enough to the police station that it would make sense that they would use that as a route to get back to the station from somewhere else, etc. So it becomes like, it's quite a spot. Again, it's super, super visible, hard for them to clean, legible, and just what it took, like, mentally. And I mean, I don't know this person, but for me, what it would take mentally to pull that off, man, I can't even. I did very, very, very few things like that in my time. And so, yeah, I just have like a lot of mixed emotions and feelings and opinions about stuff when it comes to this whole thing, because like now this is blowing up and like Juice has been out there more, getting some, like, catching some like roof spots and stuff and whatever, getting out of the train yard and some other more isolated areas. And it's interesting though, because there's not enough people doing it. And the city's not really responding to it. They haven't really cleaned a lot of the stuff up. And there's a whole other rant here that goes like the city's big initiative to clean up, the downtown core and how they're on the scene cleaning stuff up. But it really is only graffiti they were cleaning up, or what they call graffiti, which is mostly just like that back alley vandalism stuff that I was saying. It's just like people trying to pose as like gangs and stupid stuff, just random writing, bathroom stall style vandalism, and then they like pat themselves on the back. But I'm like, you let other vandalism happen on city property for months and months and months, for years actually, because it was like paid for by like a Christian organization that was trying to bring a positive message, but they were like putting like the smiley face decals on power boxes and like smile and all this other stuff. And I'm like, that is also vandalism. That, you know what I mean? And then they like argued with me about it and be like, oh, but it's like a positive message. I'm like, well, did they have permission to do it or not? It's so ridiculous. The city sucks. Anyway, so the reasons that I get all like mixed up with just how I feel about it, I got used to there not being a lot of graffiti. I got used to that not being a thing. And seeing a new one every once in a while was one thing, but going ham like that, I think part of it is just disruptive because it just changes my perception of the city, how I interact with the city, it just changes. It's a change, period. And that's harder for me to deal with. It's just change. But also, it makes me feel like, okay, you're going too hard, too fast, you're going to get busted. And once you get busted, it's just going to stop. Like, it just feels like it's too much, too quick, and the city is going to do something about it. And I don't want these people to get busted, because that sucks. It also makes me jealous. It makes me want to get out there again and start crushing stuff, but I'm not going to. But then it also has this thing where I'm like, you got to grow up. Like, you got to mature. You got to, like, why are you doing private property? You know, focus on city property, that kind of stuff. I'm like, the thing with Sonder, the thing with Atomic, I'm just like, that's so counterproductive. Like, it's, you know, I mean, if Atomic had the resources, I'm sure they would pay you to do a mural. You know what I mean? Like, they just seem like a really cool establishment. So to go and do that, especially when they're already, like, under really hard times, to me, I'm like, that's so immature. Like, because I don't think vandalism in a graffiti sense, in and of itself, is an immature act. I think that it's complicated and whatever else, but I don't think it's by itself just immature. I think that there's so many different ways you can write, and it can be whatever. You have different reasons. People have different purposes. So anyway, it's just a weird thing of like, how much longer is this going to go on? Are you going to get busted? Are you not? What are the ramifications if you do get busted, or if you don't, and there's more stuff? What is the city going to do about it? Are they going to start targeting legal pieces that have been done because they're in the graffiti style and all this other stuff that's happened in my experiences in Saskatoon? So anyway, I'm curious to see what happens, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. It's just weird. It's odd. It's when you've lived here for this many years and you've never had that, and you used to have it elsewhere and now you have it here, it feels like weird. It's just like, okay, now what? Now what's going to happen? I just feel like I'm on edge of like what's next? Because like, how long is this going to last? Are more people going to get involved? Is it going to get completely shut down? What's the city going to do? And then change just makes me anxious in general. So anyway, those are my thoughts on that. This is going to seem like a weird, out of context rant, because it is. I just think it's wild that you can't trust medical organizations. So, like, factually, we know that there are a lot of corrupt systems in place and entities and whatever else. So, if I were to look at a label from, let's say, the American Dental Association that says a product is safe, that doesn't mean anything to me. And that's wild, because people used to be able to trust that. And I think, again, like, very factually, you would be dumb to trust that now. Because we know that in so many different arenas, it is about paying off people in order to endorse your product or say your product is safe, and so that you can make money, right? Like, so a company like Listerine or some other mouthwash company is like, yeah, we know that this actually isn't that good for people. I mean, if you think about just like the opioid crisis and things like that, right? That people have signed off on stuff that is not good for you. And that's just the way that is. And I was thinking about it because when in the morning, I get up, what I'm trying to do and get back into this routine is I get up, I go to the gym, then I eat, then I shower and brush my teeth. But I don't want to go to the gym with bad breath. So I'm like, well, what do I do? Because I've heard things like Listerine and certain mouthwashes actually kill a lot of good bacteria too. And there's conflicting opinions, so it becomes this thing of like where I should just ask a dentist. And I have to like go into a dentist and just ask them if they know, which they might not, because it's like, I see evidence of people that it seems like they don't have an interest in, like, it's not like a video like that is going to bring down the companies like Listerine and all this. Like, why would someone have an interest in bringing down mouthwash as a whole, not just one specific company, right? Whereas there's an obvious interest for the mouthwash companies to pay off American Dental Association to say, hey, can you put your seal on our product to say that it's safe and you back it, and we'll give you kickbacks on stuff or whatever. Like, that makes perfect sense for that lie, but it doesn't make sense for the other lie. And then I'm just like, well, how bad is it? Like, I don't know. Like, if I'm using mouthwash, 5 days a week, 6 days a week in the morning, is that good? Is it bad? I don't know. And it just sucks. And I was just thinking about the fact that I have to figure this out when I am not a professional, and I have to figure out who to trust based off of what. It's a ridiculous position to be in, but that's where we are, and it feels like we've just all accepted that, because what can you do as an individual? And it just goes into a whole other political rant, but yeah, dental rant. Got the puppy here, who's very skeptical because she hears voices outside the studio because there are people in the gallery. Ren, you're okay. She can hear them, and she knows that she doesn't know one of those voices, so she's all freaked out. Anyway, just wrapping up the vlog for this week. Man, I think I discovered something silly. Before Christmas holidays and Rebecca and I and stuff went to Calgary, I laid out these canvases. I unrolled them. I had them folded up here for years, and it was time for new canvas on the desks. And I explained that in the last vlog. And then I thought I was fighting a cold. And yesterday, I sat down actually to paint this, to do this for the exhibition at Helen Schuler that Rebecca and I are doing. Track record. So this is the view, a picture that I took. Where's the picture? From a trail. So there's my photo reference. But anyway, so yeah, I sat down at the desk to paint that. I started getting the sniffles and stuff, and I was like, man, am I getting a cold again? What's happening? And then it went away. And then today, I was fine. I was absolutely fine. And then I came and I sat down here for 5 minutes as I was vlogging. And I started to get the sniffles and everything else again. I was like, what is happening? And I think that it is... Because Rebecca and I were talking about it the other day. It's am I allergic to something in the studio? What's new? This is new. This is one of the only things that's really new. And a marker that I was using for the first time, or one of the first times yesterday. Not the first time. And I was like, okay, is that what it is? And I think it's the canvases, because I'm allergic to cats. And usually I'm fine if I'm not touching the cats and then eventually end up touching my face. So if I do touch a cat, I wash my hands right away. But the person who gave me these canvases, they have 2 cats. And so even though they were folded up for years, I don't know how it works. But yeah, I started just getting cold symptoms of just runny nose and stuffy. My eyes weren't getting itchy or anything, because if that happened, I would be oh, for sure this is a cat allergy. But it's the only thing that makes sense, and yeah, that's the thing. So anyway, yeah, not a lot to add to the vlog this week. There's skeptical Renifer. But yeah, I'm just enjoying being in the studio again. Having a good time with that. And let's go through the reading challenge. My bad. Let's go through the reading challenge for 2024. So I mentioned in the vlog I was going to go through the reader challenge. In the conversation this week, I talk about art goals and just goal setting and stuff. First week of January makes sense to talk about that for a conversation, because I think things have changed for me since I've started doing my art goals. Yeah, but I wanted to discuss the Reading Glasses 2024 challenge, or the 2024 Reading Glasses challenge. I don't know what you call it. So if you don't know, there's a podcast that I listen to called Reading Glasses. It's these 2 hosts, and they just talk about books and reading and literature. A lot of different topics. They interview people sometimes in the industry, authors, publishers, editors, whatever. And they discuss a lot of different things. They've been doing the podcast for a few years. And so, yeah, I was just going to go through the Reading Glasses Challenge with you before I sign off the vlog for today, for this week. But, yeah, so I guess we'll go through 2023 stuff first. So, they always do 5 books to read and then 5 tasks. So, 2023 books to read. So, the first one I did was 2022. So 2023 was my second year, and this will be the third year. Books to read, a novella. I read 4 Past Midnight, which is 4 different novellas by Stephen King. Hadn't read that before. So I did that challenge. So other books to read, give a book a second chance. This one was a little more complicated for me. I couldn't remember what book I had read by Dean Koontz in high school, but I was like, no. And I quit reading it. And so it was really difficult because he's written so many books. So I just gave Dean Koontz a second chance instead. I picked a book that I thought was the one that I read, but I don't think it was. But I don't know. But I've come around to Dean Koontz. I think he's got a place. This is why I like doing the reading challenge, because it pushes me out of my comfort zone to read some different things, revisit some things. I enjoy a lot of these challenges, or a lot of the different specific tasks and books and stuff that they are getting you to do with the challenge, because it makes me do some things I haven't done before. So anyway, so I read Demon Seed by Dean Koontz for that one. Read a book with a disabled protagonist, which I read The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. Rebecca and I read that together. She had read it before. I'd never read it before, but we took turns reading that out loud to each other. So I read that, which I already owned, and it was something I wanted to read anyway. But again, I've had books for years and years and years I've never read. So it also gets me to read specific things that, last year, I had to read a book by an Indigenous author, I think is what it was, and I read a book that I was supposed to read in university, which was by Thomas King, and it was Green Grass Running Water. I never read it when I was supposed to, so I finally read it and realized I don't like it. I don't think I'll ever read a Thomas King book again. If it's nonfiction, then maybe, but I read very little nonfiction. Anyway, moving on to the 4th book. Read a book about a library/bookstore. So I read Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore. It was okay. It was enjoyable, but it wasn't super great. I've got reviews about that on Instagram and stuff. So the 5th one. So I did not complete the reading challenge. The 5th one was read a favorite book of someone who is close to you. So I asked Rebecca what's a favorite book. I asked my friend Jordan what's a favorite book. And I asked my friend Alex what was a favorite book. And so he said The Odyssey. And I was like, oh, I've had it on my shelf forever. And I finally decided, you know what, fine, let's read it. So I started it last week. I started it in 2023, but I have not finished it yet. So it'll be the first book I finish, I guess, in 2024. So I did not complete all the 10 challenges. I completed 9 out of 10 within the year. But anyway, it still pushed me to read this book that has been sitting on my shelf forever. So again, these are last year's challenges, just going through. The book tasks. Track the countries where your books took place. So, all the books that you read in the year. So I had, a lot of it was USA. I had Australia in there for part of it. I had England. I had space and alien planets. And the Odyssey is in the Mediterranean. Attend a library event, which I didn't think I did. I was like, no, I just didn't do that one. But I totally did, because I went to Word on the Street with Rebecca and Ren. And that was a library event. Figure out your doghouse. So your doghouse is kind of what are the things that you don't like in a book? What are the things in books that you're like, this is garbage, I don't like books that have this? And I put predictable characters / events. Just predictability in general, I don't like it. Try some background reading sounds. I cannot read if I can hear words. So I listened to some space rock and listened to I think some lo-fi at one point. So instrumental stuff I can do. It's still not my favorite. I'd rather just read in quiet. But I tried that. And then read an interview with an author you love. Jeffrey Eugenides, so I read an article there, or an interview. So those are the book tasks for 2023 and the books to read. Here is the new reading challenge. So again, you can just go to Reading Glasses. They have it pinned. They have this image pinned as a post on their Instagram, or you can listen to the podcast where they talk about it and kind of explain it. So these are the things I'm supposed to do. Just to read a debut novel. It doesn't have to be this year. It could be like an author 20 years ago. That's their debut novel is what you're reading. And I've got a short list of some ones there. Carrie, actually, which I haven't read yet, by Stephen King. Neuromancer is on my list by William Gibson. Black Sunday, which is from Thomas Harris, who wrote the Hannibal series. And The Damnation Game. Who wrote that? Clive Barker. So those are the four that I'm kind of tossing around for a debut novel. I haven't read any of those. Read a book by a non-binary author. I have one that I'm thinking of, which is All the Flowers Kneeling by Paul Tran. It seems really good. I just found a list by like Penguin publishers that had like non-binary authors, and I don't know if So I'll see if the library has that, or if I see it in my travels. Read a book set in a country you've never been to. So that one I picked out already is My Left Foot. It is set in Ireland. It is a book and a movie that I have had on my list for over a decade. And I actually just got gifted the book for Christmas. So that's the one I'm going to read for that. Read a Buzzy book from this year. I'm going to need some help with that. So if you are a reader who, like, a lot of my books are books that I own. They are not books that are new. I don't get books from the library. I generally don't buy books right when they come out. I wait for it to be paperback. I like hardcover editions. The same way I would treat vinyl. It's like, if it's really, really good and I know it's really, really good, then I want it on vinyl. I would want a hardcover book if it's like my favorite book. So, Buzzy book from 2024, I don't know yet. And a cozy book. Read a cozy book. And that was really interesting. So I don't think I'm going to do that. When I look up cozy book, it basically is just like a soft... It's not a book that makes you feel cozy necessarily. Like when I look up definitions, there's like cozy mysteries and stuff. And it's basically like a very conscious effort to tell a story in a very soft way. So if you were reading a cozy mystery that happens to have a sexual scene, it's going to be behind closed doors. You're just going to realize the next day they're still together. It's like mad censored is basically what it is. It's like a G-rated. It's like taking an adult topic or story and making it G-rated. And I have no interest in that at all. So I don't think I'm going to do that. If I do it by accident, then fine. But I just don't have any interest in that. Activities, the 5 activities. Choose 10 books that represent who you are as a reader. So I'm going to have to go through 10 books that I've read and use them to just represent me, so that'll be fun. Browse the library. That's it. Just browse the library. So I'm going to end up ticking off some of the activities because I'll go to the library to maybe pick up a Buzzy book or maybe that Paul Tran book if they have it, and I'll browse while I'm there and then pick a book based on its cover. So I might do that at the library too. Just browsing and then, oh, there's a book by the cover. I really like it. That's how I pick a lot of things. I mean, I look at the cover and then I flip it around and I read about it. I'm like, that sounds pretty good actually. Figure out your reading appeal factors. So that's kind of like reading doorways, which we talked about before, like 2 years ago. But I figured that out already. So my reading appeal factors, I guess they're like more broad than the reading doorways. But they are characterization and tone, which I'll get into more at the end of 2024 when I talk about the reading challenge again. And the last activity is read a holiday book during that holiday. So I need to find a book that I don't know when. I might have to wait until Halloween area because that could be like I don't want to double up on a lot of activities, especially the books. But I mean, like, if I end up reading the debut novel, like, I feel like those should be 5 different books, and I don't know. No, I guess if I read a debut novel, let's say it's the Clive Barker one, and that's like horror related. Okay, well, if I read that during Halloween, then I tick that other box. So, anyway, those are the reading challenges from the Reading Glasses Reading Challenge. I only do. That's the only one that I do. I feel like it gives me enough of like, oh, I wanted to read more of that stuff anyway. Like there's enough balance there, but it also pushes me to read stuff I've never read or I've been putting off for a long time. So, yeah, that's it. That's the end of the vlog. A longer vlog this week. Interesting because it was all recorded today on Thursday, but there you go. I don't really have any other updates for you that I can think of at the moment. Just coming back from holidays, and yeah, I think that's it. So we'll see you on another time. So quick update. I thought the vlog was done, but it's not. I got a phone call. So I had a colonoscopy the other day where they were like, hey, you've been on this medication now for 3 months. Let's take a look and see if that's helped or not or what's going on. Usually a day or two later, they phone me to schedule a phone appointment, like a follow-up appointment. It's always a phone appointment. It's never in person. I got a phone call today, it was like 2 days after the colonoscopy, asking me to come in. I don't take that as a good sign. So, I don't know. Health update, that's a cliffhanger for 2 weeks because it must not be that bad if you can wait 2 weeks to tell me, but also it must be more serious that you want to talk to me about it in person rather than over the phone.